Howdy. Today we're looking at Equinox! The Equinox Max Investments! Finally! I've been talking about this for like 2 weeks now. We're actually freaking here. This is gonna be very intense, convoluted, probably all over the place, but that's because Equinox is so unbelievably complicated. I've got several different builds, like hybrid for both forms, some for just day, some for just night, and all of them are pretty decent. So we're gonna go right into it. I have 3 different looks, so I'll go ahead and show those off first. This is supposed to be like a Shrine Maiden look for when I'm in night form. I think it looks pretty snazzy. Then this is some weird, I don't know, Skyrim looking thing for when I'm in a purely day form thing, and then this is just like for my hybrid build when I switch between, because based on what the emissive color is, the first emissive color, right, the one on the left, is what will determine what form you start in when you enter a mission. So if you were to put a helmet ability over your first ability and you no longer can switch forms, then what form you are depends on your emissive, which is very, very important. Extremely importante. So, Equinox. Where to start? This is there's so much to go over. Okay, I think first I'll try to explain her abilities as best I can. Yeah, we'll just have that one augment on. Okay, so Equinox's passive is just a mini version of Equilibrium. Just 10% health to energy and energy to health. Metamorphosis. Her first ability lets you switch between day and night form, and when you switch, you get a 25-second buff that scales off duration for which form you switch to. So if you go from night to day, you get a damage multiplier and a speed increase. That damage multiplier is additive to Serration and other base damage mods on your weapon. So like with what strength I'm at right now, it says 1.4, that's only going to be a 40% damage increase. That is additive to like Serration. So if I had Serration my weapon, that ends up being a very, very small damage increase. So it's pretty pointless. And then if I switch from day to night form, I get a increase in my shield capacity and armor, but that's also not very relevant. Her 2 ability, Rest and Rage. Casting it on an enemy, it has to be targeting an enemy, will make them take more damage in day form, but also increase their speed, right? How fast they attack and run around and stuff. It enrages them. So they run around and attack faster, but they take more damage, and that is multiplicative. And in night form, it puts enemies to sleep, and once you drain 50% of their health from where they were at when they were put to sleep, they then go through an animation to wake up. The wake up threshold rarely has an effect. It's not usually a problem. In worst case scenario, if they wake up before you can kill them, just put them to sleep again. So let's show that. I will spawn in these enemies. We are currently in day form, so you have to target an enemy to hit an enemy with your 2, but it does have an AoE. So I cast this, look, it hit multiple enemies. This is what it looks like when they take bonus damage and have like enraged speed. So then if I switch to night form, I can then put them to sleep. Something that's very convenient about putting them to sleep is that I can perform finishers on them. So that is extremely convenient. Hang on a second. There we go, sorry. I can perform finishers on them, which is very nice for, say, like melee crescendo, because with crescendo, however the hell you want to say it, someone told me it's pronounced crescendo. So with melee crescendo, you have to be able to actually perform finishers. So being able to perform finishers on enemies whenever I want, because of my second ability, is actually really, really convenient. So that's very nice. Now, her 3rd ability, Pacify and Provoke. When you are in day form, it gives an increase in your strength to both yourself and teammates within the radius, and it consumes 3 energy for every ability cast by you or teammates within the radius. It is a channeled ability that is always active. So I would just... Wait, I'm in the wrong form. I just activate it, and then there it is. Look, 32% strength. At base, I believe it's 20% strength or something like that. So now... See that radius around me? I myself, of course, get the bonus strength, and any of my teammates around me get bonus strength to their abilities, which is very, very nice. Then in night form, it makes it so enemies nearby have their damage decreased. It consumes energy per enemy per second, similar to gloom. Now, that damage multiplier is very special because it is not the same as damage reduction. Damage reduction means you take less damage from the enemy. This is a damage multiplier to the enemy that is negative. So at base, it's 0.5. Right now, what my strength is at, it's 0.26. So at base, 0.5, it will make all the enemies within the range deal half the damage. Why that is so nice is it means you take less damage because they deal less damage. They deal less damage to your teammates. And most importantly, they deal less damage to defense objectives or anything you're trying to keep alive. So having enemies deal less damage so that they don't like decimate defense objectives, say in like a level cap run of Daruri Circuit where the defense objective gets pulverized in high-end levels. This is very, very nice to have. It unfortunately doesn't scale well as far as survivability goes for yourself and teammates because damage reduction doesn't scale well up to level cap. But for defense objectives, it is an extremely nice ability to have. Finally, we have Mend and Maim, her fourth ability. When cast in day form, you activate Maim. So any enemy within this radius that enters the radius will take a single slash proc, and they'll be staggered for a short duration. Now that slash proc scales with strength, but that is completely irrelevant. You do not need any strength for your fourth ability, because the slash proc is the only thing it scales and it does almost zero damage. What matters is that 0.75 of the damage dealt to enemies, right, so their HP basically, alright, will be then converted into a number for yourself. See it on the top right of the screen? I now have 527,000 for Maim. And that is very nice because it is 0.5 or 0.75 of the enemy's HP. And why that matters is enemy HP obviously goes up with level, meaning this scales with enemy level all the way up to level cap. So no matter what enemies you're fighting, it will always be able to do enough damage to nuke, and your strength has no effect on it. So you could be negative strength and still be able to have a giant nuke capable of one-shotting enemies at level cap. So like, look, I have 2.17 million right now. However, part of the problem is armor. So like right now, I don't think, whoops, my 4 ran out because I ran out of energy. Whoops. I was going to show it. It would nuke something. Hang on, let's come back into here. And just so I can actually show it off without running out of energy, we'll slap on this and this. And then we'll put on stretch. Put on an aura so we actually have some level of space going on, and then like transient fortitude and equilibrium or something. There we go. So let me go back, reset these enemies, and then show you the nuke in action. So you cast your 4, every enemy within the radius that you kill obviously adds to it. Let's activate my Incarnon form so these guys die faster. Now, you're going to need a decent amount because of how armor works, but now I should be able to kill most of these guys. Look at that. Big damage. And there's no cap on how big your nuke can get. So it is very, very effective. Now, in night form, casting your 4 makes it so Mend is active. Mend is similar in the way it builds charge, so every enemy I kill will build charge for healing health and shields to both myself and teammates within the radius. I now have 527,000 healing. That's obviously extreme overkill. You will never need that much healing. It's kind of ridiculous, but I mean, you know, it's a thing, I guess. Honestly, if it doesn't scale like that, I could be wrong about that, but regardless, like, killing one enemy will always give you enough HP and shield restore for your entire team, pretty much. So that part is kind of irrelevant. What you want out of it is that every enemy killed within the radius provides shields to yourself and your squad mates. It starts at 25%, it goes into overshields and it scales off strength. So 424, now I have 479. Now the reason that matters is because you can skill with strength. So if I had 300% strength, I would get 75 shields for every kill I get, to both myself and to teammates. So if you put in something like catalyzing shields, which has 74 cap on shields, I would then get my entire shield gate back on every single kill, which gives you near invincibility so long as you continually kill stuff, which is very, very nice. Oh, I'll get to you later, Matt. So, if it wasn't obvious already, Night Form is supposed to be defensive. You can put enemies to sleep, you can make them deal less damage, and you can get lots of shield restore to both yourself and teammates. And Day Form is offensive. You get a damage multiplier to the enemy. You get massive amounts of bonus strength. And you also get a nuke that is one of the best nukes in the game because it scales with enemy HP, meaning it scales with their level. And it also has a very nice range of 18 meters at base, which is one of the larger amount of range for nukes in the game. Equinox is very, very strong. In my opinion, none of her abilities are useless. The most useless one is your 1, but it still has value because you can switch forms. I guess if we count her passive, that's kind of doo-doo. I wish it was a higher value, but I think Equinox is way better than people give her credit for. So I do have Archon Shards on her. We have 1 for casting speed, because her base casting speed is painful, especially when you're casting abilities so often, and 4 for strength, because strength is very, very nice. Now, let's take all this back off again. With her third ability, the strength bonus scales with strength, meaning you double dip on strength for yourself. So if I put 200% strength on, then my 20% bonus strength from provoke then goes up to 40% strength bonus. So at 200% strength and I cast provoke, I'm then actually at 240% strength. It does cap at 250% strength, giving the bonus a 50% strength increase. So keep that in mind. She does have augments as well. Her first augment is Duality. It makes it so when you switch forms, you create a Spectre basically for 10 seconds that deals 300% of your damage. This Spectre will have whatever weapon you are currently holding when you use it, like so. Now, the problem is it cannot use alt fire forms, like in Karnan weapons or anything. It'll use the normal fire form. It also consumes from the same ammo pool as you, so if you're using a weapon that runs out of ammo, you'll run out of ammo fast. It also does not scale with strength, and it has a very horrible base duration of 10 seconds. The AI is also very, very dumb. I've done a video in the past about Equinox where I made a pretty funny build with this, and you can still do that, but it isn't very practical. Most of the time, I would not use this augment. Next, we have, what is it? It's Common Frenzy. Common Frenzy, very straightforward. It just makes it so when you kill an enemy affected by Rest or Rage, it will then spread to 5 meters around the enemy, which is the same as the base range, for 100% of the remaining duration. So like you cast it on an enemy, it spreads it in that AoE, you kill those enemies and just starts spreading more and more and more, so it kind of cascades to the entire room. Very, very good augment, but it is not always necessary depending on how you build her. Next, we have Peaceful Provocation. Peaceful Provocation is obviously for your third ability. In Night Form, it makes it so taking damage builds up a slow effect. It is very similar to Gloom. That slow effect is 40% at base, and it caps out at 80% when at 200% strength. It's annoying to use on low end, but on the high end, you'll take enough damage to build that up in like almost instant. Like if you're an elite Deep Archimedia, you're going to get this built up almost instantly, so it's not really an issue. But on the low end, it can be annoying to try to build up. On Day Form, dealing damage is what builds it up, and instead of giving a slow effect, it gives you even more ability strength. Now it is 15% at base, and it caps out at 200% strength, giving a 30% strength increase. So if you have 250 strength, because that's the cap for your third ability, and 200 is the cap for the augment, you will then be getting 50% and 30%, meaning 80% extra ability strength for yourself and teammates. That is a lot of ability strength. Very nice augments. Then we have energy transfer as her last augment. This is for your fourth ability, and it makes it so that when you change forms, it will hold 100% of the charge for your fourth ability. So if I cast my ability, or that's my first, if I cast my fourth, and I switch forms, you can see it ends my fourth ability. However, if I have the augment on, come back here, put on energy transfer, I cast my fourth ability, I then cast my first ability, it retains my 4. Now, something that is super nice about that is that, like I said earlier, strength does not have any effect on maim, or any reasonable effect, right? So if I cast this, it's, mend right now. Switch forms. The extra strength I get from my 3 is useless for maim. However, the ability itself snapshots. So if you are in a hybrid build where you still have your first ability switch forms, you cast your third, you get the bonus strength. Cast your 4, of course, after that. Switch forms, and now the bonus of strength will still be applied to your fourth ability in mend, so that you get more shields from each kill, so it's easier to get your entire shield gate back. Very nice augment to have, assuming you are still using her first ability to switch forms. Now that we're done with that, on to the actual builds. So let us switch to, yes, here we go. So there are several different ways to build Equinox. You can either go for a day build where you put a helmet over her first and purely use day form, or you can go for a night build where you helmet over her first ability again and purely use night form for defense stuff, or you can go with a hybrid build where you keep her first ability and then you either use no helmet or you replace one of the abilities with a helmet. All of which are very effective ways of playing her. Now, for a hybrid build, I actually got rid of it because I was testing stuff, but I can quickly put it back together real quick. Because of armor not capping out, okay? The biggest problem with Mend and Maim, specifically Maim, before Jade Shadows, was armor. Because armor still affects when you deal damage with the nuke. So you could build up a 100 million nuke, but if you're at level cap and enemies have 99.999% damage reduction, you're not going to kill them. But enemy armor caps out at 2700 for 90% damage reduction now. So you don't need an armor strip anymore. All you got to do is slap on Corrosive Projection. Corrosive Projection reduces enemy max armor by 18%. So that 2700 is now 18% lower than what it was. And because armor scales linearly, that means this 18% armor, only from Corrosive Projection, you are dealing nearly triple the damage by just having Corrosive Projection. That is huge. So if you're built for her nuke, always use Corrosive Projection. Always. It is just so very nice. And then you can completely forego an armor strip on your Warframe build itself. So I would always recommend having this. Then your Exilus is entirely up to you. You can go Prime Sure-Footed or Normal Sure-Footed, whatever you have. It's totally up for preference, right, in what you have available. You are going to want Prime Flow for energy, Prime Continuity for duration. Equilibrium is super nice to keep your energy up, and it combines with your passive to be even stronger. For a hybrid build, you're always going to want energy transfer. It is a nice augment, but I do wish it was part of her base kit. Perhaps that will be changed in the future. You are then going to want as much range as you can possibly get. That way, you get a very large nuke. So I would go Stretch as well as, where is it? The other ranged mod that reduces your strength, Overextended. It's going to nuke our strength, but we can fix that. So you'd add in Transient Fortitude, and then Catalyzing Shields. Now, Energize is completely unnecessary here. Molt Augmented does help a lot, though, to give us more shields in the long run. So I would keep Molt Augmented, and then I would put on Aegis for extra survivability. So this is what I would use as a hybrid build. Very straightforward. You just, if you're normally just running around, I would try to, hang on, I need to remove my companion real quick, because we'll get to that in a minute. I would try to stay in Knight form normally if you don't need to kill stuff, because that will give you the best survivability. So when you start out, you want the bonus strength, cast your 4, then you can switch forms, and now you have the extra strength for your 4th ability for extra shields. If you need to have enemies deal less damage, like if there's a defense objective, or if you're not at level cap where they deal 10 billion damage, use your 3. If you don't need your 3, you can just keep it inactive. Then, if you ever need crowd control, you can just cast your 2 and put the enemies to sleep. It has a very large radius, especially with high range. Like that, we literally just put the entire group to sleep. Very, very effective. Then when you decide you build up you want to nuke, because, you know, we have the augment, so it retains our nuke when we switch forms, you can just switch forms. It drops the enemies down from that weird effect. It's kind of strange. So we do that. Then we can cast our 3rd if we want extra strength, because the extra strength will make us deal more damage when we use our 2 to have the rage effect, right? So bam, there we go. Now all of them take bonus damage. All but one. That guy was a little too far away, it looks like. So very straightforward build. You have a lot going on. You have huge amounts of damage, a massive nuke with a giant range. What's our range right now? 42.3 meters on a nuke that can pulverize stuff. Now, if you did not know, enemy Overguard takes significantly less damage from Warframe abilities. I don't know why, but in my testing, it has no effects on main. So this is a nuke ability that can kill Eximus with Overguard. That's very important. So let's say we come back over here. I'm going to kill these guys to build up the nuke. And afterwards, I'm going to spawn an Eximus so that you can see we can one-shot Eximus with Overguard. Because it is just so extremely effective. I think this should be enough nuke. Of course, you can add in Viral from a pet or something, and that will just skyrocket your damage, or magnetic, or anything like that. So I think I should be able to one-shot these guys. Yep. A lot of abilities can't do that in this game, because the Overguard takes less damage from nukes. Equinox doesn't have that problem, so even at level cap, you can nuke Thrax, right? Like overguarded Thrax and Void Cascade. Anything in your radius will die. It will be destroyed. It is beautiful. It is the best nuking ability in the game, in my opinion. So we will switch this back to these guys. Now, that is the hybrid build. Very straightforward. Lots of survivability, lots of damage. Now, the next kind of build I want to show would be a purely nighttime build for all defense. I have 2 variants for it, which are Defy over your first ability, Wukong's Helminth, or Silence over your first ability, which is Banshee's Helminth. I need to cough, hang on. Whoa. So Silence is nice because it makes so Eximus cannot cast their abilities. It is just very, very comfortable. And it also keeps Acolytes from casting their abilities. So the Acolyte with Silence gets Silence, so he can't silence you. I know, confusing, but it's very nice to have. But of the 2, the one I have been enjoying more would be a Defy build. I did take Equinox to level cap, so, you know, there are some people that say I don't ever test stuff. I haven't had people say that on a max investment video, but like, you know, tier list videos where people say, oh, you probably never tested it. I do test frames. I've taken Equinox to level cap more than once to test stuff. I've done a lot of different normal missions. I did Elite Dark, Deep Arc Media, whatever. So I'm confident in the fact that all of these builds will work because I tested them thoroughly. Now, Defy is very nice because it gives you complete immunity to damage, right? The duration, you take no damage because you have immunity, and then all the damage dealt to you is stored and then dealt back to the enemy, and it scales with strength. On the low end, that is pointless because enemies don't do enough damage. At level cap, where enemies do like 10 billion damage, and we also have corrosive projection to strip a decent bit of their armor, Defy is going to be able to one-shot most enemies. It also has a very large radius. So it's a really, really nice panic button. You're about to get clapped, Cast Defy. Wait for your shields to recharge. You're completely immune to damage. Everything hits you. You have a big-ass borderline nuke. And then you whack them all, and they all either straight up die, and then the ones that don't just instantly die get knocked down. It is a very, very nice ability to have. I love Defy in this build. It's so, so good. We have High Strength, so that we can then, of course, get most of our shields back. We don't have Molt Augmented because it's not needed here. Instead, we have Molt Vigor, because 300% Strength gives us 75 shields on our kills, so we want 300 Strength for full shield gate back. Molt Vigor is an arcane where you cast an operator ability, and you then get 45% Strength on your next ability cast. And the only ability we really care about Strength for here is going to be our 4th ability, because we're already at 259, so it caps out on our 3rd ability. Let me switch to this build. So you would just go to your operator, cast an ability, go back, and then cast your 4. There you go, you're at maxed amount of shields to get back, or that you need. Now you're chilling. Then you can cast your 3 and keep that up all the time and put stuff to sleep, and obviously have Defy. We also have the Augment within this build for our 3rd ability. So we have a miniature version of Gloom. This is very nice because the 80% slow on top of knocking stuff down with our Defy is going to, or when enemies wake up from Rest and Rage, is going to make it so that they basically never get up. It's going to take so unbelievably long for them to recover that if you don't kill them, by the time they get up, you're probably playing the game wrong. It is a very nice synergy between those things. Obviously, we still have Corrosive Projection because, well, we need some level of armor strip here because it helps with Defy. We have Prime Sure-Footed to not get knocked down, Equilibrium, Prime Continuity, Umbral Intensify for strength, Prime Flow, Stretch for a little bit of range, Transient Fortitude for more strength, and Catalyzing Shields so that we have a smaller amount of shields to get our full shield gate back from our 4. Aegis is here for just even more survivability. This build, I have never been down with this build when like running high-end content. It's pretty damn comfy, and it also helps keep your teammates alive all the time too. Like, this build is just extreme levels of never die, while also having lots of support. Because if you want to just never die, there's Revenant, but A, Revenant is boring, and B, Revenant doesn't provide as much support. Yes, you can give Mesmer Skin to your teammates, but this lets you give your shields back to your teammates while also slowing stuff down, like if you had Gloom, and being able to put stuff to sleep, so if your teammates need finishers. So, you know, it's very comfy. And then, you know, this build is just a slight variation. We have less strength, so we get less shields back from our 4, but it's not the end of the world. And we have higher range for silence. Then we have 2 different builds here for a purely day form. One is with Pillage, and one is with Reeve. First, I'm going to go over the Pillage one. So, Pillage is here for more armor strip. It's not necessary because Corrosive is enough to kill stuff with our 4, but the reason we want it is so that if we're not nuking stuff, we can still strip armor to kill stuff with our weapons easier, and more importantly, we also get our shields back because we lack survivability by only being in day form at all times. Prime Redirection for a larger shield gate, so we get a 2.4 shield gate because we'll get all those shields back when we pull back Pillage. Common Frenzy is here so that we can spread the effect from Rage to do massive amounts of damage to large groups of enemies, though this is purely preference. If you do not want this, you can replace it with either not an augment, or you could go with this augment so you get more strength to affect Pillage, or really anything else, right? Like, whatever you decide you want to put in this spot, you can. We then have plenty of range for our nuke from Stretch and Overextended, plus that mixes well with Common Frenzy to spread Rest and Rage everywhere so that entire groups of enemies are taking massive amounts of damage. It is high risk though because it makes enemies way faster. So be careful about that. High risk, high reward. I still like it, and I have had no issues in surviving with this build. Equilibrium, Prime Continuity, Prime Flow, the rest is pretty self-explanatory like other builds. Molt Augmented for more strength to affect Pillage and R2, and Arcane Aegis for more survivability. Sorry I keep coughing so much. This build is very straightforward. There's not a whole lot to it, but it is very effective. Let me switch here. Again, always make sure you have the correct emissive on. Otherwise, you're going to screw yourself. And that's never fun. It's always a massive yikes. So we simulate these guys. Go in. I forgot to reset them. God damn it. We got to go back down and reselect it so we actually get all 20 of them now. There we go. So you can obviously, armor strip them so you do way more damage, which is always nice. I'll go over this strut build in a little bit here. Keep your 3 active so that you get a larger amount of armor strip from your pillage, and you can always cast your 2 so that they all take more damage. It's hard to tell with this emissive, but you can see it is actually on all of these enemies. So now they're just going to get eviscerated. This is corrosive on the weapon, so it doesn't work well in a pillage build, but again, I'll go over the weapon in a little bit. I forgot to cast my 4. Hang on. Sorry about the neighbor dog barking. Let me close my window so you guys don't have to hear that. I'm just going to not be able to breathe, but it's totally fine. So your nuke's almost always going to be able to kill the enemies totally fine without anything else. But if you feel like you're not quite sure if your nuke has enough built-up damage, you can always just, armor strip even more with pillage, damage debuff with rage. Hell, you can also add viral with a primer or a companion, and then, you nuke them. Look, that was a lot of damage. Way more damage than we needed. Finally, we have my favorite build for Equinox. This is the one I've been enjoying the most lately. The build I've played the most with is still this build with Defy, but the second most I've used is this one with Reeve. Now, I know there's going to be people that probably think there's no reason because Reeve works better on Revenant, but I think Reeve works better on Equinox in this case. So, if you don't know, Reeve is the Helmet ability from Revenant. It drains enemy health and shields when you hit them. All you got to do is pass through them. Something very important is it says 40% health drain and shield drain. That is a lie. It is 40% on enemies affected by your first ability on Revenant, Enthrall. We do not have Enthrall. The base amount, which you can view on the wiki, is 8%. 8% is not enough to kill enemies at all, not even close. But we can fix that. So, corrosive projection, so we strip armor more for our 4th ability, of course. But Reeve goes through armor because it is health and shield drain. It goes straight through armor, so shield or armor strip is irrelevant for Reeve, but we still want it here just because we still like nuking stuff. Dang it! Really hope I wasn't going to yawn this whole video. Prime Sure-Footed, which is completely up to preference. Arcane Aegis for survivability. Molt Augmented for more strength. Catalyzing Shields, so we can get our shield gate back faster and easier. Peaceful Provocation for extra strength. We get an extra 30% strength when we have at least 200% strength, like I had said earlier in the video, and we, of course, do have 200% strength. Now, if you do not want this extra strength, you can actually replace it and go for a little more survivability, like Fast Deflection. This is what I would run if I was doing a level cap run with this build, just to be a little bit more safe. But you can just run Peaceful Provocation. Transient Fortitude for strength, Equilibrium for energy, Umbral Intensify strength, Stretch for range, and Prime Flow and Prime Continuity, of course. Now, I do wish I had more range for the nuke, but 26 meters is still a pretty decent range. Now, Reeve, at, like I said, 8% at base. We are at 259% strength. When Peaceful Provocation builds up for the 30%, and we're also the base, we get 50%. That's 80% more strength. That puts us at 339%. So we are actually going to be at, like 28% of an enemy's HP is drained when we pass through them. That's still not enough to kill. But we have Rest and Rage here, a damage debuff that affects all damage dealt to an enemy. 129% right now, but with the extra 80% strength, this will then go up even more to more like 160%. Now, we are doing around 70-75% of the enemy's HP in one Reeve cast. All we need is a single viral proc to make the enemy take 100% more damage to their health. One viral proc with Rest and Rage and our strength built up is then going to kill with Reeve. And that's not even counting Molt Augmented once that builds up as well. So you could replace Molt Augmented here. It's not even necessary. I just have it here for just even more strength. Because, I mean, you know, it's funny. Why not? So, simulate these enemies. We have Epitaph as a primer, which I'll go over in a bit. We come over here, cast our 3. We have to deal damage to build up the augment for the extra 30% more strength. We can't always cast our 4 just so, you know, we also get the extra, the nuke building up, right? Always make sure you apply your 2 so the enemies take more damage. And then you just, you know, you apply viral on them. Now, everything we hit is going to get one shot. That's pretty snazzy. I really like it. So we can one-tap stuff with Reeve. Assuming we hit enough viral procs. I didn't on the guys in the back corner, but once we add in a companion, everything will be max viral anyways. And then, of course, you still also have your nuke to one-shot giant groups of enemies. On top of having the insane damage from Reeve here, Reeve also status cleanses you, and it gives you iframes while it's active. It also steals health and shields to heal yourself. So if you pass through an enemy with shields, it will give you your shields back, which is very nice. So this is not just for massive amounts of damage, but it's also a movement tool, and it is a survivability tool. All at once, Reeve is an incredible ability. I freaking love it. Now, the reason I like Reeve on Equinox more than Revenant is, yes, Revenant gets 5 times damage on Reeve to an enthralled enemy. The problem is Enthrall targets one single enemy, and then you have to wait for that enemy to start shooting other enemies for it to spread. Whereas the debuff from my Rage effect on Equinox, I can literally just cast it on one dude and it hits a whole group of enemies, and then I just kill them. It's so much faster to just nuke stuff. You do get the downside of not being able to enthrall like acolytes and stuff because that removes their damage attenuation, but that's not a topic for this video. So I really, really enjoy Reeve on Equinox because then I can just pulverize everything all the time with my nuke, with my Reeve, get massive strength to myself and teammates, and then make enemies take huge amounts of damage with my Rage effect. It is very, very strong. Now, that is all of the builds. All of those builds, all together, you do not have to have any specific weapon most of the time. You can run whatever you want with weapons. Typically, for your companions, though, I would recommend using Nautilus with Hellstrom. I've been using this in like all of my builds lately. It's because Nautilus and Hellstrom is just way too broken. Nautilus is here for the typical, you know, Cordon and Manifold Bond. Guardian gives us way more survivability. We have Calculated Redirection and Accelerated Deflection, so we get a bigger shield gate and it comes back faster to keep it from dying, even at level cap. Duplex Bond, so it spawns in a bunch of little mini guys. They don't spam Cordon like the main Nautilus does, but they can shoot stuff with the weapon to prime enemies more. Prime Regen, Assault Mode, so to attack stuff, Vacuum, very straightforward build. The weapon is Hellstrom to spread viral procs everywhere. It also can do some level of armor strip because of heat, and that also gives a little bit of crowd control. This is a very straightforward viral priming build. You know, multi-shots, viral, lots of fire rate, status chance, and bigger AoE from Prime Firestorm. Very straightforward. Now, that is very nice in all of the builds, but it's especially nice in the Reeve build because that will then pull everything in and prime them. And then you can just cast Reeve once and they all die, or, you know, or also like just cast Rage because all of them will be sucked together so it can easily tag them all. So let me show that real quick. Let's hope it doesn't suck them while I'm too close. Alright, here we go. I forgot to unpause the enemies, otherwise the guy bugs out sometimes. So we'll set invincibility. We'll unpause, come up here, watch. Pulls them all in, primes them all with Viral, I apply Rage, and then I just cast Grieve and they all die. Very effective. I love that. Now, as far as weapons go, you are going to just try to fill in what you're missing on the build. So, like, this build, we can't really kill Acolytes. So I would go with an Acolyte killing weapon, like a good build on Exceltra, or the Latrin Incarnon, Shrun Incarnon, Kuva Brahma. I've personally been enjoying the Shrun Incarnon the most lately. This build right here, it is less powerful than a lot of other builds, yes, but it can go all the way to level cap and still kill Acolytes. Not instantly, but the benefit to this is you don't have to kill stuff to build all stacks. The only thing that requires kills here, I mean, other than our Exilus, but that's irrelevant, is Galvanized Hell. So this is just a very comfy build. It's not high damage, but it's enough damage, and that's all that matters. Enough damage while also being extremely comfortable. Now, if you don't have enough armor strip, then I would recommend this build right here. This is higher damage, and we also get heat and corrosive. Heat does pretty good damage itself, and heat with corrosive is going to be stripping lots of armor, especially on top of the corrosive projection that we have. So if you need more armor strip in your build for general enemies, I would go with corrosive on the weapon. Otherwise, you can go for something like Blast. Then, for your secondary weapon, I personally like to use Epitaph as a primer, just in case my Nautilus is dumb and doesn't prime stuff. That will rarely be the case, but it's still nice to be able to just always apply extra Viral. And you can also use Secondary Fortifier here, which gives you tons of Overguard. This, dude, I did a level cap run with Protea and Equinox, or no, I didn't use this with my last Equinox run, but I did a level cap run attempt with Protea that I posted like a week ago. Holy crap, dude, Secondary Fortifier, even on Epitaph, is insane. You can melt Overguard so easily on Thrax, even though you don't have a damage build, and it gives you Overguard constantly. So much survivability. So this is just going to give us lots of priming, and it has an 11.52 meter range to apply Viral onto everything. Tons of priming. We got lots of, status duration here. We have Amalgam Barrel Diffusion for more dodge speed, stunning speed, more status chance, reload speed, pistol ammo mutations, so he gets more ammo. This build is incredible. This is just so freaking nice for both priming and survivability and killing Overguard. Next, we have our melee. Another thing that's entirely up to preference. I like to use the Telos Boltus here because it can suck enemies in. Here, wait, let me go back here. It can suck enemies in with the unique traits. Meaning, I can, even if I don't have Nautilus or Cordon is on cooldown, let's come back over here, unpause, then I can still pull stuff in, even if Cordon's on cooldown. So I can, do this, pull them all in, and then kill them, like so. So very nice to have, and it's also just a very strong weapon in general at base, right? Like, it's a very, very good melee weapon. If you don't want to use it, you can always go with like a Redeemer, a Glaive like Zorius, Glaive Prime, Serata. You could go with a hammer like Cybeer, Archititran, Tenet Agendus is good. Hates literally any melee weapon you want to use, you can make work here. Now, your focus school is also entirely up to preference. We have Vazarin if you want more survivability and support for your teammates. I like running Vazarin when I'm using my support build with Defy. Zeneric is pointless because the extra energy doesn't work when you have a channel ability active. Never use Zeneric. Naramon is good if you're spamming just your melee. Madarai is good for Void Cascade. And Uneru is actually also pretty pointless unless you need the extra. You need like the knockdown resist because you don't have Prime Sure-Footed. So I would either go Naramon, Madarai, or Vazarin. If you spam melee, use Naramon. If you're doing Void Cascade and you aren't spamming melee all the time, I would use Madarai. And if you need more survivability, go Vazarin. Typically, the main one I use here, though, would be Madarai. And that is the entirety of all of the builds and stuff for Equinox here. So let us re-equip this. We've got everything going on right. I'm going to stick with this build here. This will be the build I'm using because it's the most entertaining. It's my favorites. And, The build on the Boltus is very straightforward, right? Just a typical melee influence blast Boltus build. Just show everything again. And now we can go solo a Netracell. Leave simulacrum. I think my neighbor's dog stopped barking, so I'm going to open the window so I can breathe. Yes. Much, much better. Open the curtains too. Hey, daily reset happened. That's a big whoa, isn't it? You might be able to hear the crickets outside. If you can, sorry about that. But I'd rather breathe, and I'm sure you guys can survive hearing a little bit of crickets in the background. While we load in, I'm gonna get a drink. I've been very, very eager to show this build off. Because I've been talking about Equinox for like 2 weeks now, and I put Equinox in S tier in my last tier list video. And there were some people asking me like they wanted to see the power of Equinox and why I thought she was so good. Because the Jade Shadows changes to armor was exactly what she needed to fix her nuke problem. She has very few issues now. She's just so unbelievably good. You've got survivability, you've got crowd control, you've got insane damage, you've got like the best nuke in the entire freaking game. It's just, it all works out so unbelievably well. Here, I might as well build this up right away. Look at that, a big schnazzy. Now we just gotta speed run all these stupid ass computers so we can actually get to the circle and show everything off. It's crazy to me that there are people that still say Equinox is terrible. I think a lot of those people just haven't played Equinox in a long time. Or more than likely is people that just didn't understand Equinox. Because the common sentiment I see among most players with Equinox is they just don't understand her kit. They have no idea what's going on because she is a very complicated and very confusing Warframe to play. Hopefully I was able to explain everything thoroughly so you understand what's going on with her and all of the builds. Because if you know what you're doing, she's just, oh my god, she is so good. She's also a very, very good looking Warframe as well. I love how Equinox looks. I just realized I'm lucky because I did actually select the correct emissive, I think. Please, please, please. I saw a dark color, right? Yes. Always make sure you're careful about getting the right emissive, because if you pick like an emissive where you're stuck in day form on a build where you want to be in night form and you don't have your first ability because it's replaced with a helmet, yeah, that's not so fun. It's very suboptimal. I did a Deep Arc and Meteor run, I think, like that, and an Archon hunt as well, and they were both a little annoying. Because I was like, damn it, and I didn't want to have to restart, so I just accepted life as it was, and I did it. But yeah, just be very careful about that. With the exception of that, Equinox is always a massive PP energy. Alright, here we are. I'm going to put an energy pad down just so I can actually get some energy. Now, you always need to make sure you're hitting stuff so you don't get absolutely decimated and murdered. If you're about to die, you know, just panic, press reeve, wait for your shield gate to come back. Now, the reason I mentioned fast deflection in the build was because it's just very nice to have your shields come back faster while you're casting reeve. And you don't need the extra strength from the augment for your third ability, it's just nice. But, you know, if you don't need it, you might as well have the higher strength. Like, I don't think I need the extra survivability in a Netracell. I don't really have problems doing Netracells. So I just, you know, stuck with the augment here. But you can choose whichever one you decide you need more at the time. Ooga booga. I think I want to do a live stream level cap Void Cascade again soon. But I'm not sure if I'm going to want to play Haro or Equinox in the level cap run. I really want to play Equinox to show her off more, but I've also been working on the Haro max investment build, and I've yet to take that build to level cap, whereas I have taken Equinox to level cap. So it's kind of like, you know, I should probably do Haro soon to make sure I know that it, like, the build actually works. Pretty sure it does, but obviously, you know, I should always test stuff, as I typically do, just to make sure. Because better safe than sorry. I'd rather suffer a little bit and find out I gotta change something than make the build video and then people get mad that it ends up being 2G. Look at that. I hate these dudes up here though, because I don't think Reeve can even tag them. Those dumb hoes. Can I target him with maim? Yes! It targets all of the joints. That's nice. That's extremely nice. Murder them all! We are starting to run out of energy a bit, so you gotta be careful with that, but it's because I'm just spamming Reeve a lot right now. I normally don't really have energy problems, though. Okay, let's spam Epitaph around, and then nuke to kill this hand guy again. Always be careful not to die. I'm looking for an yeah, no, I'll be fine on energy. Pull them in, cast 2. Murder them all. They're on a little weird ledge. It's hard to hit them like that. Now, you do have to be careful with the Reeve because Overguard. If an enemy has Overguard, Reeve isn't really going to work on them. So keep that in mind, but you can melt Overguard with the Epitaph because we have secondary Fortifier equipped. So if you really need to, just, you know, do that. There we go. We were running out of energy, but then we killed a big group and got lots of health orbs for lots of energy. We just yeet them all in and just murder them all. It's beautiful. I definitely think more people should try Equinox out. I forgot to recast my foil. There we go. And, you know, she takes a bit of investment and a lot of Forma, generally, I'd say. Or at least if you're going to try to, like, make several different builds work on her, you're going to want a lot of Forma on her. But it's very much worth it in the long run. I think I have 8 Forma on my Equinox. That's not necessary. That's because I, like, tested stuff and shit. I think 6 Forma would probably be enough on her. I know that is a lot for some people. Some people struggle for Forma. I mean, honestly, I do a lot of the time myself. I'm always selling stuff to try to buy more Forma. But if you can spare the Forma, definitely give it a shot. Well, did I see a red? Oh, because I have to go around. I was like, why did I just see a red circle on my left when it was saying to go straight? It's because it was right in here. Hello? Where art thou? I am here to murder you. Ah, yes, hello, my good sir. Goodbye. Have fun in the afterlife. Back to our circle. I've yet to run out of energy once, and I've been spamming the ever-living crap out of my abilities, so. Yeah, and if I spam my Epitaph more on the overguarded guys, that'll help a lot for the survivability as well. Whoa! Game froze. Please! Please don't crash! Oh my god, it didn't crash! Okay, I'm definitely leaving that in because that was funny. Dude, if that had crashed, I would have had to restart the entire video. That would have sucked so much ass, dude. Holy shit. That made me panic a little bit right there. I'm worried this video is going to be too long to be able to save in a single clip on PlayStation. If I have to run it all again or say everything over again, kill my voice, would be massive yikes. Well, that was close. Almost fell off the map. Yeah, try not to fall off the map because it resets your abilities and then you have to, like, you know, cast your nuke again. Beautiful. Didn't quite get all of the guys because this is a slightly, you know, smaller range build than the other builds, but still kills everything within the radius just fine. Pull them all in and murder them. I forgot to recast my 4. Always make sure you recast your 4 after you use it. I mean, of course, if you want your nuke built up, I mean, I don't know why you want it, but I guess if you don't want a nuke, then don't cast your 4. In that case, though, you'd probably just helmet it off. If I cast this right here, can I end it right now? Oh, no. Just a couple enemies short. There we go. Very easy, very little effort. I was barely paying attention and I still didn't die. So, should be pretty obvious as to how juicy it is. Oh yeah, and because Epitaph's giant range, you can easily just destroy all of these to get all the loot very fast. I mean, that's not really a reason to, like, run a weapon, but it's an added bonus, I guess. Yeehaw. Give El Poppy an Archon Shard, please and thank you. Your boy needs a Tau-Forged Red Shard. So that would be awesome. I had to take all of my Tau-Forged Reds off of Mirage to put on Haro for the Haro max investment video upcoming, or after I finish testing him. So, you know, getting those Reds back would be a pretty massive PP, if you ask me. Come on! A normal blue. Son of a cunt. That's not what I wanted. But, oh well. Massive yikes. So, yeah, that was the Equinox video. If you really want me to show the defensive build in another video, I can. So let me know if you want that. Otherwise, I can just, like, show it on stream or something. If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe. Share the video, maybe. You know, spam this in every Discord and Reddit you're in. That would be very funny, hilarious, and a battle buddy moment. Adios.